Have you guys ever wondered why so many Japanese game directors are so weird? Like, seriously, I don't get it. Hideo Kojima, Suda51, Swery65, Motomu Toriyama. Lightning is my waifu too. And possibly the weirdest of them all, Yoko Taro. Yoko Taro is so weird, and it definitely shows in his games. His games go from dark and disturbing, to light and humorous, emotional and sad, to lewd and sexy almost instantly. I always thought it was pretty crazy how Square Enix keeps funding his games when they make almost no money and are usually pretty bad. Like, seriously guys, is he like the nephew of the CEO or something? Anyway, I've always kinda liked his games, even if the gameplay is terrible, the story and characters are usually pretty fun. The first Taro game I played was the original Drakengard back on PS2 when it first came out. I remember really enjoying the gameplay, but not really getting the story. As a kid, it's the perfect game. You get to relentlessly murder thousands of men, and your best friend is a dragon. Awesome! Wait, what was this guy doing with kids? What's this giant statue thing? Needless to say, I was kinda confused about the multiple playthroughs / endings thing. I was way too young to fully understand what was going on with all the mentally disturbed characters. Revisiting the game years later actually made me realize how much I liked it more for its story, rather than its dated Dynasty Warriors style combat. The second Taro game I played was the first Nier game. I didn't play this back when it came out. I actually played it around the same time of Drakengard 3's release. Nier isn't perfect by any means. The animations and overall combat system are kinda janky, but the story is amazing and the characters are very likable. And goddamn guys, dat music. Seriously, Nier has one of the best video game soundtracks in video game history. As for the characters, Kaine is my favorite, for reasons. But seriously, I'm really glad Yoko Taro actually likes putting such a diverse cast of characters in his game. It's really refreshing to see. I know that sounds vague, but I don't want to spoil the surprises. Also, any story about a father that will stop at nothing to save his daughter, I'm always on board for. I love those kinds of stories. I highly recommend playing it at some point. Nier is one of those games that gets better with age. You'll understand once you play it. The third Taro game I played was Drakengard 3. And oh my god guys, this game is terrible. After playing a classic like Nier, I expected at least a little bit of polish with this game. I'm not even lying when I say this. Sometimes the game drops to like 5 frames per second if too much stuff is going on. This is a fast-paced character action game. 10 to 15 FPS is completely unacceptable. Imagine if Devil May Cry ran at that frame rate. But Sue, I hear you screaming. How's the story and characters? Gotta say guys, it's really hard to like any of these people. But that's actually the point of the game. The story is about killing as many people as you can and stealing your sister's boyfriends because they give you power or something. It's weird, but you know, whatever. Also, the game tries for darker humor, and for me, I didn't like most of the jokes in this game. There's one character in your party who I wish was literally cut from the game. He's an old perverted guy, but literally everything he says is either about how he wants to bang our leading lady Zero, or it's about his penis. It's very annoying. But is there anything I like about this game? Some of the songs are really good, and I really like the final boss fight. Yeah, cool, I guess. Anyway, believe it or not, but this is actually a video about Yoko Taro's newest game, and sequel to probably his best game, Nier Automata. Automata? Automatopoeia? Autotomato? When Nier Automata was first revealed, the trailer blew me and probably everyone else away with just one line of text. Oh my god. If you're a fan of fast-paced character action games, you probably know Platinum Games very well. Developing the likes of Bayonetta 1 and 2, and Metal Gear Rising, 2 absolutely amazing lightning-fast action games. I actually felt really good and had high hopes for the game's combat system. The thing is, Platinum's never made a semi-open world JRPG like Nier before. I was kinda worried. I only watched 2 trailers, which only showed linear segments of gameplay. I think for Yoko Taro games, you should always go in fresh. You never know what you might get. I was also curious to see if this game would have an emotional plot, or if they'd go full edgelord like in Drakengard 3. Well, let's see what old Yoko Taro has in store for us this time. The story of Nier Automata centers around 2 androids, 2B and 9S. 2B is a combat android, and 9S is a non-combat scanner model of android. They belong to an organization called Yorha. Yorha are the defenders of humanity. In the Nier universe, humanity fled to the moon because aliens invaded Earth and drove them away with these cute little machine lifeform guys. Yorha is tasked to liberate Earth of its machine enemies so that hopefully one day humans can repopulate and live happily ever after. This game tackles topics like what it means to be human and how war and overexposure to violence can affect someone's mind. At times, the story gets really dark. I was almost brought to tears. One of my favorite sections in the story was an optional text adventure. I felt so bad for the characters in that text adventure. The main story is great, but I also have to praise some of the side quests. A lot of them are written really well and make the somewhat boring tasks tolerable. I'll say this right now. 2B is my girl. I seriously love this character. 2B is a badass, but she's not as foul-mouthed as, say, Kaine or Zero. I won't spoil anything, but I really enjoyed her character arc. In the beginning, she's very no-nonsense and by the books. The whole, I'm an android and emotions are prohibited kind of personality. Her partner 9S is the exact opposite. 9S is way more lighthearted. He feels like an innocent kid just trying to make friends in an almost lifeless world where emotions aren't allowed. He tries so hard to be nice and make small talk with 2B, but she always just shoots him down with her cold, calculated demeanor. I felt really bad for him at times. Early on in the game, I found it kind of weird that 9S was doing most of the talking to quest giver NPCs. I legit thought 2B was a silent protagonist like Kaim or something. Once you replay the game for the second time, everything will make sense. Handful of characters from the original Nier show up. This game doesn't rely on the past game's lore to tell its story. It stands all on its own. You don't need to know anything about Drakengard or the original Nier to fully enjoy this game's story. I won't go further into the plot. Like I said before, you should always go into Yoko Taro games fresh. The story is totally worth it. Nier Automata is an open-world hack-and-slash JRPG. Open-world games usually overwhelm me with all the pointless side tasks and collecting useless trinkets. Nier's open world isn't that big, so it doesn't feel like a chore just moving from one place to another. All the environments are really awesome and varied. You've got your cityscapes, forests, deserts, caves, and wide open water areas, which by the way have 0 load times in between. There are 2 types of quests in the game, main and side quests. In the quest log, all of the quests are in one folder, which could get kind of confusing. Just remember that your main quest objective is always marked on your map with a specific marker. The side quests are pretty okay. They're mostly fetch quests or task you to find and talk to a certain person. That can be kind of boring, but like I said before, it's the writing that makes these quests good. Since Platinum made this game, the controls and movement are extremely polished and very tight. The combat is amazingly fun. Much like the first game, Automata is a mix of hack-and-slash role-playing and bullet hell shoot-'em-up, just much tighter and more satisfying to actually play. There are multiple playable characters, which actually surprised me. Each character plays differently. 2B plays like your standard Bayonetta / Devil May Cry character. She can use light and heavy attacks to chain combos together. 9S is really interesting. He uses light attacks and has the ability to hack into enemy machines. Hacking is so cool. You suddenly start playing a retro-looking shoot-'em-up minigame, complete with 8-bit music and sound effects. If you succeed, you're granted 3 options. You can make the target self-destruct, you could remote control them, or have them fight by your side. That really helps keep the gameplay interesting. Each character has a robotic guide named Pod. Pod kind of fills in for Grimoire Vice, but he's not as fabulous. Pod is basically your bullet hell attack. I love how you could still execute melee combos even while firing a barrage of bullets. It reminded me a lot of playing as Virgil from Devil May Cry 3. One of the coolest features are the plug-in chips. You could find these items from defeating certain enemies on dead Yorha units or just buying them from shops. Each plug-in chip does different things. One of them, and probably my favorite, is called Overclock. It essentially turns the game into Bayonetta. A perfectly timed dodge will slow down time for a bit. Another great chip is Shockwave. Every melee attack sends a blade of energy at your enemies. This combined with your pod's gunfire absolutely decimates enemies. It's so satisfying. There are so many different ways to customize your character's abilities. It just adds so much more depth to the gameplay. There are also these really awesome on-rails scripted segments where 2B takes control of a flight suit, and you have to gun down enemies at high speed. Imagine playing Raiden and then instantly switching to a twin-stick shooter. My only complaint is that I wish there were more of these segments. Also, it would be pretty cool if we could trigger the flight suit freely, rather than it being a scripted set piece. But that would probably require way more time to implement in the open world setting. It's not a huge problem. The enemies come in all different sizes. You've got your small, medium, large, and Goliath class enemies, which use melee and projectile attacks. I feel like the developers did a good job of mixing these enemies into groups. You also have an AI partner with you at certain points in the game. You could customize your partner's behavior, but I think you'll be just fine if you keep them on balanced mode. For the most part, the bosses were really fun to fight against. There were a few bigger bosses that were kinda just felt like I was on autopilot. They had very easy dodgeable attacks. The humanoid bosses are the most fun to fight against. Definitely brings back some DMC/Bayonetta memories for sure. Some people might be turned off with this game's art style and graphics. The color palette is very brown and gray, much like the first Nier. The design makes sense for the game's theme. You're exploring a dead planet. The graphics overall are good, nothing mind-blowing. It's probably what you'd expect from a Platinum game. Everything's a bit stylized. Kind of looks like a PS3 game at certain points. The frame rate stays at 60 FPS most of the time. I only saw a few hiccups when things were going crazy on screen. The combat animations are super stylish. Also what you'd expect from a Platinum game. Guys, the character designs are amazing. You know what I'm talking about. All of the characters are really sexy, including the guys. I mean, just look at Emil's skull. So smooth. So beautiful. No, seriously, there's a lot of butts in this game. And I love it. The soundtrack doesn't disappoint either. It totally lives up to OG Nier's OST. Emmy Evans is back with that heavenly voice. There's also another vocalist named Janique Nicole who sings the English theme song and some of the field music. Also, very talented. Tracks like Peaceful Sleep, Weight of the World, and The Tower really stood out to me. Overall, I really enjoyed Nier Automata. It definitely lived up to my personal hype. The story and characters are so beautiful. I can't believe I'm saying this, but finally we actually have a Yoko Taro game that's fun to play. Guys, I highly recommend playing this game. I'm so excited to see what Yoko Taro has in store for us next. Drakengard 4? Maybe. Nier Automata DLC? Strong possibility. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and joining me on Patreon. When you join me on Patreon, you have 3 options. You could get your name at the end of all of my videos on a list that you see on screen right now. You can get exclusive sneak peek previews of my upcoming videos. And if you pledge highly enough, you can get some sexy selfies. Like this one. Very hot stuff, guys. I have more reviews coming soon, old games and new games. Tell me what you thought about Nier Automata in the comments section down below, and if you think we'll ever see Drakengard 4. I hope so. Anyway, I'll see you next time, guys. Later.